thing and share. You can share online too, Rochelle.
Okay.
It's the phenomenal STEMist who's with me. How are you, uh, Miss Rochelle Harris?
I am
Nurse
good.
Rochelle Harris. You're good.
Your day.
I'm sorry?
How was your day?
My day was interesting. Shout out to Altamont Duke Energy for like shutting down everybody. You're talking about what a virus is. I'm going to share to my page, and that should be able to show people. Matter of fact, it's not, I don't see it on my, it's on the Phenomenal STEMist right now. It's not, I'm on Phenomenal STEMist right now, not, well, there I am. Not my pages yet. But now I'm sharing to my timeline. Hey, Mom, how are you? I see you. I see you. We're talking about viruses today. Viruses. What is a virus? Now, I thought I was going to be able to share my whiteboard with you guys, but I can't. So you're going to have to pay very good attention to Dr. Byfield teaching you about the virus. I'm with Rochelle Harris. Rochelle Harris has her bachelor's in social work from Florida State University. She went on to do her bachelor's science in nursing in RN from University of Miami. Well, she did her master's in public health first, from Florida International University. And so she's a Florida girl, like just all Florida. Sorry, I'm sorry she didn't experience Talk louder. Make sure your sound is strong in here. Speak, Rochelle.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you really well. Yeah, that's good. We're talking about what a virus is. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to talk about what a virus is, and then we're just going to talk about our viewpoint on what this coronavirus number 19 is. Okay, so first off, what is a virus? So if you don't remember my last video, one of my last videos was on how do you know something is living, and I talked to you about what cells are. So if you remember, I talked about what cells are. Cells are living organisms, living things. They can make their own energy. They transform their own energy. They can survive by themselves. They are living. They have a membrane. They have DNA as their genetic information. They can make their own proteins to function. They can move and do things because they have their own proteins, and they can make their own proteins to function. Okay, so what's a virus? A virus is not living. So I don't know about you, Rochelle, when people come to the hospital, sometimes when you were nursing, they would want antibiotics for a cold. And it's like, dude, you don't have a bacterial infection. Like, what's inside of you is not living. Your problem is not living. So I can give you an antibiotic and it can't kill anything because it's not living anyway. A virus is not a living thing. What is it? It's basically, I'm sorry I can't draw it for you, but it's basically proteins wrapped around sometimes DNA, sometimes RNA. That's it. It's just molecules. They're just molecules. Viruses are molecules. They're not cells. They're not living. They can't live on their own. If they drop on something, they'll last for a couple of hours maybe, and they're not lasting in terms of living. They're just sitting there, but they won't have any virility, or they can't infect you. So somehow this weird group of molecules have gotten into us. So imagine, a rock. Like, a rock is not living. It's just a bunch of molecules. You ever had a rock like stick on you? Like, you step on a rock and it's annoying. Why? Because it's just annoying. It doesn't belong there. But it's this rock is just sticking on you and just bothering you. So just get rid of the rock and it'll be no problem. Because the rock really it's in of itself it can't do anything. Well, it's kind of like that. The problem is the rock is not just on the top of your skin or the bottom of your hands. It somehow got into your cells. So a virus is just a bunch of molecules that somehow found a way to get into your cell. So your cell has this membrane, like a boundary, and not anything and everything can come inside of your cells. It's called the plasma membrane. I hope some of y'all took biology. I mean, that's another thing, Rochelle. These people don't take biology, and that's why they're out here with masks and stuff. That's why they're making all kind. Oh, I had Thai food, and so I got curry on my shirt. Anyway, that's why they don't understand the basics of biology. Hey, what's up, Barry? How you doing? Okay, so the membrane is a boundary to say, hey, you can't come in. Yes, you can come in. It's called semi-permeable. It allows what it wants to come in, what it doesn't. Somehow, viruses, which are just molecules, proteins in DNA or RNA, they attach. So imagine like this is the cell's membrane. And they attach to the membrane. They attach to the membrane. Hey, Kelly, what's up? They attach to the membrane. Now, this is the boundary, like everything is inside the cell. This is the boundary. They attach to the membrane and somehow they get inside. See, there it is. How does it get inside? How does it get inside? The cell has a receptor on it that they somehow like hijack. They jump on the receptor. I know the name of the receptor. I'm not going to tell you what the receptor's name is because I think it's pointless because many of you don't study bio. Study biology. Go read a biology book sometime. And then it hijacks the system and tricks the cell to say, yes, come in. See, normally the cell binds to special things to say, yes, you should come into me. And the virus bound to that receptor and tricked the cell to make it come inside. And now it's inside the cell. And now it starts to break away its own parts and hijack the cell's systems of reproduction. So they themselves can't reproduce. They themselves can't make their own energy. That's what cells can do. Viruses cannot because they're not living. But if they can get inside the cell and hijack the cell's system, then they'll make the system, the cell itself, work for it. And so it basically tells the cell, I want you to make me over. Yeah, my mom says it reminds me of HIV. It is exactly like HIV, just a little different. HIV is an RNA virus as well. HIV is a virus. And there's only two main types of viruses, DNA and RNA viruses. And so guys, if you have any comments or questions, please do me a favor and ask me now so that when we get into this dialogue, I can ask. So it basically hijacks the system, gets inside the cell, and makes the cell create more viruses. And the viruses then form inside the cell and then break out. Hey, Simba, what's going on? So now the viruses, it was just one virus, with little bit of genes. Like, it's so not living. Like, we as humans have 23 chromosomes. These viruses have like one chromosome with like 3 genes on them, 10 genes on them. But they hijack the system and then they reproduce themselves from the inside and then burst out of the cell. And then they start infecting more. That's what it means by infecting. They start to jump into more and more cells. The problem is, if we don't catch it in time, if your body doesn't catch it in time, it will do that abundantly. All right. So here's Rochelle's role. I'll talk about the biology a little bit as we move through the conversation, but we were talking about what COVID is. Okay. So COVID is a disease, right? Caused by a virus. So what kind of virus is it caused by, Rochelle?
So this COVID virus is a form of coronavirus, and there's different strains of coronavirus. If you're feeling sick, shortness of breath, having any type of respiratory symptoms, and you go into the ER or a central care, they're going to test you for coronavirus. They also test you for influenza A and B. They test you for RSV. So it's a strain of what's normally tested. The fear of this is that this is a new strain. It's very quick acting than the normal coronaviruses that we see. It's very acute, and it's very virulent. So that's where the fear is coming from. It's a different strain from the regular coronaviruses that we usually test for.
All right. So for instance, I remember this is my issue with people on social media. They talk too much and they don't know what they're talking about. So remember in the beginning of when this started happening, first of all, they discovered it in December of 2019. That's why it's called Corona 2019, right? And then they had like pictures of Lysol or pictures of Dettol within the ingredients. It says can attack coronavirus. So people were like, oh, this coronavirus has been here forever, or they predicted coronavirus would be here, and I'm like, oh, yes, coronavirus. So when you say different strain, this is the biology behind strain, guys. So this is a RNA virus. So if you don't know what RNA is, go look it up. RNA stands for, it's a nucleic acid that is used as a message to make protein. So if you remember from general biology in high school, the central dogma of life is DNA to RNA to protein. Like I call DNA the architect's blueprint. Like when you build a building, you don't build a building made up of a blueprint, right? A blueprint is a piece of paper, but it contains the instructions on how to build the building. Now, the building itself is made up of brick, wood, right, cement, and you literally put blocks together and you organize those blocks. So if you look at that in the context of a cell, the blocks and the cement and the wood would be proteins, but you have to have information on how to lay the bricks. So what do? You have first the architect's blueprint. He writes it down on a piece of paper, and then the construction people read the paper and they organize the building. That paper, that message is RNA. So what's happening is it's an RNA virus with a message. It can't make the virus. Remember, it's not a living thing. It can't make its own protein. It has a shell of protein around it. It uses protein to infect, but it itself can't make the protein. So what they do is they hijack a system. They send their message into the cell, and then the cell makes the proteins for them. And that's how they can just replicate and make lots of viruses. The cell makes the viruses for the virus because the cell itself, right? And so the message gets mutated. Like, if I tell you, like telephone, I give you like such and such and such, and then you tell the next person, and you tell the next. Every time you tell the next person, what happens? You started off with Maya loves curry chicken and white rice. At the end of the line is Maya is eating pork when she shouldn't be eating pork. Like, you know what I'm saying? So go ahead.
I said the message gets skewed along the way.
Right. And so with every different message leads to a different virus. It's the common, there's a commonality. Yes, it's coronavirus, but it's a different virus. All right. So that's the first thing. So when they test you for coronavirus, and they've been testing, like you said, for a long time. They've been testing for coronavirus, but now this is a different strain. When you say more virulent, what does that mean?
So this attacks not only the lungs, but with it attacking the lungs and you potentially going into respiratory distress, then you get pneumonia very quickly because it attacks the cells in the lungs. So you have a more potential to develop pneumonia. Then once the pneumonia comes about and your body is still trying to attack the virus, it's attacking the lung cells or the cells of the lungs, you have a potential for the immune system to work in overdrive, and then you go into what's called a cytokine storm.
Okay.
You want to explain that?
Yeah. All right. So basically, this coronavirus is also known, it's actually named, I put it on Phenomenal STEMist, it's called SARS-CoV-2. So if you remember, there was SARS in 2002, and this virus looks a lot like that one. All right, it attacks the respiratory system. It's specifically for the respiratory system. So it's going to attack. That's why they say it comes through droplets, and you breathe it in. It comes into your nose, and you breathe it in. You get it into your lungs, and your epithelial cells will get infected, just like how I taught you. They get the viruses make them. The good thing about these kind of viruses, like the flu virus and these coronaviruses, is that your epithelial tissue can regenerate. How you doing, Rochelle? Everything all right? They can regenerate.
I went into my room because my reception wasn't good in my guest room.
Okay.
I went into my bedroom.
Okay. So the if the cells start dying, they'll regenerate. It's not like polio, for instance. The polio virus, when polio virus, they attack the nerve cells. So when the nerve cell dies, that's it. You're paralyzed. At least with the respiratory system, they'll make new cells. So if you're, a lot of these symptoms are like the common cold. A lot of people aren't dying from this coronavirus. However, if you get really ill, like for instance, people who are already susceptible to disease because they're older or they're immunocompromised, you'll start to have too much virus, killing off too many cells, and it leads to pneumonia. Like you start to cause a lot of mucus to come out into your lungs and fluid. Right. Why? Because you're trying to destroy the virus. It's foreign. It's not a living thing. It's something that's foreign, that doesn't belong there, and they're trying to attack it. And when they try to attack it through having a lot of mucus to basically stick to it, that can cause issues in your lungs. And then your other white blood cells, they start shooting guns at this thing. They're shooting antibodies at it. They have specialized cells that send, we call them cytokines. They're basically little proteins that attach to it and try to explode it. They're just trying to kill the virus. And I'll say this again, we have immunity for this thing. Like if we catch it, if our immune system catch this foreign virus in time, they're gonna go full guns loaded. They're gonna destroy that virus, and you'll be fine. You'll have a little bit of sniffles, etc. You have a fever, right? Why? Because you're trying to denature the protein of the virus. Like you're trying to unfold the virus, and you're just trying to kill it. Problem is, in the process of trying to kill the virus, those cytokines are killing your cells. In the process of heating up your body, that heat is denaturing your proteins. Like the problem with the virulence is you're basically killing yourself trying to kill the virus. Cytokine overload. It's like you have people inside your body just shooting bullets everywhere. And the bullets are not only hitting the virus, they're hitting your kidney, And so now your kidney fails because the cytokines blew up the cells of your kidney. And what we're noticing in COVID, I'm seeing when I was reading, kidney failure, it's one of the one of the major organs that fail. So what you want to do is you want to make sure your immune system is healthy to catch it in time, but you don't want to go through viral, immune system overload.
Right.
Okay. So hold on. I have some questions. What's up, everybody? Curlin, Kevin, Topaz, Autumn. Is eating at all you can eat buffet safe or sitting in a public toilet? Okay.
That's funny. So all you can eat buffets, I don't recommend that, even if you're well. So just for cross-contamination purposes.
Listen.
People wash their hands when they're, if you think about it, you're dishing your food, you're picking up those ladles, and the person behind you probably didn't wash their hands when they're using those ladles. You go back to your seat, and then you're eating the food. If you're not washing your hands before you pick up the fork, and then it's cross-contamination. I don't recommend buffets.
This chick is just to let you know, this chick is a germaphobe already. But I didn't like all you can eat buffets pre-COVID. This is another thing. Like a lot of the things that people are tripping off of, I'm like, we should have been doing this forever. And it's not about the virus for me, guys. It's about bacteria. Those things that all you can eat has that food at 37 degrees and it's just sitting there. And all I can see is this bacteria dividing and dividing and dividing every 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes. Every 20 minutes, that bacteria, and that's real life. Like, I'm more afraid of bacteria than I am of viruses. I'm afraid of TB and E. coli. And, those are no joke. And it's funny, like, people are tripping off of a virus. So to answer your question, Barry, I never sat on public toilets before. Your mother didn't teach you to do this, but you ain't a dude. I mean, you're not a girl, Barry. I don't know about you, but our mothers taught us to squat, but I guess guys, they never sit, right, unless they do number two, and it's hard to squat doing number two, right? So I get your point.
They put some paper down.
Yeah, put that paper on the sides.
Right.
Listen, I'm not afraid of the coronavirus. It's an epidemic and it's a pandemic. Let's define what that is. What does epidemic mean, and what does pandemic mean?
So let's talk about the difference. Good. So like a flu epidemic is kind of predictable. It's kind of expected. And your epidemics are going to be on a smaller scale. I would say even countrywide would be considered like an epidemic. A pandemic, that's worldwide. Pan meaning all. So your pandemics are worldwide. And then these are more unpredictable. We didn't see this coming. Again, when we test for coronavirus, we have the common strains that we test for. This coronavirus is a new strain. So it's considered pandemic because it is hitting worldwide, number one. And then number two, we didn't see this coming. This is unexpected.
All right. So epidemic is more localized to the area where you live, like a countrywide, versus pandemic is global. And so at first it was an epidemic in China, right? And then all of a sudden it jumped into Italy, then Iran. Now it's in America.
Korea too before it hit. Yeah. It was in Korea also. It was China, Korea, yeah.
Yeah, so once it started jumping across country lines and started entering into other countries, now it's a pandemic, meaning it's everywhere. But I want you to understand, guys, it's just because it's transmitting very fast to other people across country lines. And personally, I think, Rochelle, there has been a high level of study on viral pandemics of recent, like 2012, 2013, and they have been recommending certain behaviors in learning from the H1N1, and in, you know, if you remember, you guys remember the swine flu, and the bird flu and the SARS. So you understand this concept of viruses. It was in an animal, and somehow, I'm not gonna judge as to how it got. People started judging Chinese people because they eat bats and all that stuff. In reality, I don't think we really know how it got transmitted from an animal to a human, right? But it went from being in the swine to a human, or a bird to a human. That's why it's called swine flu. That's why it's called bird flu. And now it's moved from they're thinking bats to a human. And so when it got to changing hosts, like the more hosts that virus can attack, like if it can attack a bird, a bat, a swine, all of them, there's more likelihood that they can get into humans. Like certain viruses are only in cats and only in rats. So no matter how much you're around the cat or the rat, it's very difficult to come inside of you. But when it starts jumping from cat to rat to bird to swine to whatever, then it's really easy to get to humans.
Right.
And when it's easy to get to humans, then it's easy to get from human to human. Why? Because of the way life is right now, globalization. We have people flying all over this world constantly. We have roads being made constantly. And as long as there's an open for one human to communicate with another, there's a high level of likelihood of epidemic and pandemic. But it sounds so scary. Those words sound so scary. It's literally just saying it's able to travel from China to Africa to America. Shout out to Africa though. They holding it down. They're like, you not coming in here. Have you noticed? Have you seen Africa?
Their cases, I don't even think they have any cases. They're kind of non-existent on the continent, which is great.
Shout out to Africa. My cousin went to Africa of recent, my cousin's husband, and they're swabbing people in the plane. They ain't playing.
And that's what they need to be doing here too.
They are not. And like, they're waiting. They're swabbing everybody who comes in the plane, getting swabbed, and they getting tested for coronavirus. Every single person, and when they leave, they're getting swabbed again. I think that's one of the reasons why they're not getting it. So it's literally just halting the transmission of human to person. Because like I said before, in 2013, 2012, they really started to study transmission of these viruses because of the pandemic of in 2009. This massive, I'm not going to call it an overreaction. I feel it's an overreaction, but I also feel it's what they recommended from 2012. Mm-hmm. So the reason why people have never seen such craziness, where they're quarantining whole countries now, like, no, not just cruise ships. Italy, like the whole country, right? And now Israel's like 14 days. You have to self-quarantine 14 days. And I think you sent me a message with Florida saying if you came from a different international country, you have to self-quarantine. All of these are recommendations for the heavy studies that they did in 2012. So, I think people are getting scared because they're thinking it must be really bad because they've never seen this before. And I'm trying to let people know they're just following the CDC and WHO's recommendation based on what they've learned in 2012. It's not that this virus is so much worse than SARS Part 1, because we're actually right now, it's not necessarily worse, as I'm reading. Yeah, let me get some questions. All right. People have been preaching that the people of African diaspora are immune. Sound like a host to me. No, I just think they're like not letting people in, and when they're letting them in, they're testing them right away. I don't know. There's another question. The concept that the hotter the location, the less effective it will be, is that true?
There's been no proof of that. So I did go on the WHO website today. That's the World Health Organization .int. If you go to www.who.int, they have all of the facts for COVID-19. And they did That's under Mythbusters. If you click on the tab that says Mythbusters under COVID, that was a question that they did address. Does the weather affect whether it's more virulent or not, or does it travel? And no, they don't have any proof whether you're in a warm climate or a colder climate. There's no proof of that.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Melon. I don't know. Melon is blocking it. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Melanin, that's a myth. Melanin is not blocking COVID, whatever. Dimitri says that the flu is more dangerous. Listen, a virus is a virus. We just have more information about the flu virus. And there was a pandemic that killed lots of people back in 1918, the Spanish flu. And you have to take in consideration what they knew. They didn't have information back then. We just don't know. We're learning things. And the more we learn now, the more certain precautions we can take to control. So it's like, the flu is the flu. A virus can get in. If it can get in and then it can jump right back out and infect everybody else and cause your body to just try to destroy it, then it's going to do that, whether it be coronavirus or influenza virus. They have very similar points of entry and actions. So matter of fact, like the SARS-2, it looks so much like the SARS-1 that scientists are now using the same drugs. Like I told you, it can just jump on the receptor and then enter in. Remember that? So now they're using antibodies and drugs on people to block it from getting in. Or when it gets in, it tries to unravel itself so that it can start sending its message in. They have drugs to stop that. They already have drugs in place for the SARS part 1, and they're realizing that it's like 80% similar to the SARS-2. So they're just starting to work on that. I'm telling you. And another thing, I feel like we're a lot of people have access to these coronaviruses, and I think we have immunity to it. Right? So the sooner we develop immunity to these things and are not hypervigilant, then it will just our body will kill it off before we even notice it. The problem is with all these. Go ahead. You want to say?
I was going to say, and again, the majority of people that are being like severely affected are the ones with a compromised immune system or comorbidities. So diabetes lowers your immune system. Asthma affects your respiratory system, and heart disease. So, and that aids into the poor circulation problem of the body. So these are people that are actually coming down with COVID-19
and are dying. So yes. What we need to do is be healthy.
Yes.
Like we literally need to eat better. I mean, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and I don't eat certain things, and just by not eating certain things lowers your risk of getting animal to human transmissions. Many people who don't eat meat lower that chances, but definitely unclean foods like bats and stuff, right? A lot of those unclean animals have, when I say in the context of unclean, I'm talking about animals that don't chew their cud, like a cow or a goat, right? I'm talking about things that are already susceptible to these kind of viruses. You eat that, you put it into your system. But even still, if we have a good immune system, we can destroy that. When we have a healthy heart, healthy kidneys, healthy lungs already, that virus comes in, try to destroy our lungs, will reproduce itself. But what about all these people with buying off toilet paper? Like, what does toilet paper have to do? Personally, I think that belongs in the money section. I really believe that this has to do with the fact that they shut down China, right? And so
toilet paper portion either. What do you need toilet paper for? If you're sick at home, the virus, why do you need toilet paper? I didn't understand that either.
Maybe to blow their nose, or maybe they feel like the supply chain, there's a heavy supply chain between China and in America with toilet paper. I don't know. They shut down China. China is heavily quarantined. I don't know if they feel like things are not going to get to the country after a while. I don't know. Maybe or they just don't want to. They want to blow their nose. I have no idea. But if you know, there are a lot. I didn't want to sneeze. I was on a plane. I didn't want to sneeze on the plane. I feel like people are gonna think I have a grave disease. People are extra now. Like you can't sneeze, you can't cough. Purell is going out. What do you think about that? What do you think about the fact that all these people are just buying up all these disinfectants and antibiotics and masks and stuff?
I think these people probably have poor hygiene before. I don't know, because I mean, I wash my hands, I blow my nose to, clear my respiratory tract. So this doesn't bother me. And then I know I have like you said, I have a strong immune system. So I'm not in panic mode. This is just like, oh, okay, it's it's another virus going out. It's a seasonal virus, because every year, come on, let's think about it. There's always something. What was it last year? Was it Zika? I don't know. There's always something. So for me, this is the seasonal virus that's going to, it's going to kill some people. But again, those are the people with a compromised immune system, comorbidities, and then these people that are using Purell, like it's going out of style. It's like going out of style. It's like, dude, just wash your hands. Why haven't you been washing your hands before? So
listen, I don't like antibiotics and those ethanols, because what happens is you keep using Purell and stuff, you're not training your immune system. Like me and you are different. Like you wash your hands all the time. Like she comes out with hands dripping, Me, as a child, I got sick a lot as a child through bronchitis, and I think I had borderline asthma thinking about it. And that sickness was good for me. So now as an adult, I don't get sick. I feel there's a role for dirt. Like right. Dirt is good. Dirt puts your immune system in order. So when something foreign comes, it's ready. If you're overly clean, now I believe in washing hands. I'm not saying I don't believe in washing hands. I'm just saying if you're using alcohol all the time above washing your hands, then you're not protecting yourself. You're causing your immune system to be like, okay, she got it. And when something real happens, your immune system won't be able to fight it. Being cleanly like that, especially in the hospitals, is important, because you don't want to take dirt to the sick patient. Right. Like all of these things, masks and Purell and things like that, they're meant to protect the sick, the immunocompromised. You who have a good immune system should not be using this forever. Washing your hands is good enough, especially if you cough on it.
Right.
But do you gotta wash your hands 10 times a day? No. If you're a germaphobe like Rochelle over there, maybe. But if you're like me, I mean, no, you don't. You wash your hands when you use the bathroom. Like if you use the bathroom and you wiped yourself, there's chances that you got E. coli on you. So you gotta go to after you use the bathroom, you should always wash your hands.
And anytime you touch a doorknob or a door handle, you need to wash your hands. Because remember, other people don't wash their hands. So you need to wash your hands, Maya.
No, because like when other people touch the doorknob and I touch the doorknob, I activated my immune system to fight that other person.
Don't wash their hands. They don't wash their hands.
Listen, if you go ahead. Listen to the nurse, guys. That's why me and you, like, I'm a biologist, molecular biologist. Like I literally see bacteria everywhere. Everybody take a deep breath. Everybody take a Did everybody just take a deep breath? Yeah, you just took a whole bunch of bacteria all up in your nose, all in your mouth. Is there. I see it with so if I keep washing my hands, and as soon as I wash my hands, a whole bunch of bacteria is going to fall right back on it. Go ahead, Rochelle. Go ahead. So that's how I'm thinking. I'm thinking as a microbiologist. She's thinking of as like a nurse, a master's in public health. She's public health. So listen to her. Listen to her above me. Go ahead.
Get your rest. You have to get sleep. That's when your body is actually repairing itself. Mm-hmm. Get your rest and drink water. Drink water. That helps to flush your system out of any type of extra debris in your body. They don't talk about that enough. I wanted to bring that up.
So another way to protect yourself from the flu is sleep well.
Yeah.
So don't just wash your hands. Don't just not touch your face. Everybody's talking about don't touch your face. But get rest. Drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
That is good. That is good.
We don't talk about that enough.
Yeah, Ebony says the supply chain is heavily strained. We are now researching not only the supplies that come from China, but the components that are utilized to make 80% of more of our medical supplies. Yo, and that's another thing. Yo, stop buying masks. Like the people in the hospital need masks, guys. And the virus is literally like, it's 80 to 200 nanometers. That's the size of the virus. Like, it can get through the pores, which is 15 microns. Like, that's 15 million nanometers. Am I right? 15 micrometers? Yeah. To the 6th power. I might be wrong. 15,000 microns? I think it's 15,000 microns. So, not nanometers, sorry. The holes in the mask is about 15,000 nanometers versus 80. So, it'll get through. It's going to get through. Like, the virus is going to get through that mask. You feel me? Now, I think, the droplets won't get through. I get that. So if I cough on you and then a whole bunch of spit goes and moves to your face, I guess it won't get through. But still, guys, masks are for sick people. Masks are to protect sick people, not you. The more you have, like, I actually want to build up immunity against COVID-19. We want an immune rush. We want to have a lot of people who get COVID-19 but can handle it. And the more you do that, then you have immunity. That's what vaccines are for. So they literally give vaccines. They basically give a piece of the virus and they put it into your bloodstream so that your body can already recognize it and build the immunity for you. That's what a vaccine is. Anybody have questions on vaccines? Let me see. We're just answering questions now. Sister Dimitri had chicken pox, mumps. And you got shingles a few years ago. You shouldn't have gotten shingles if you had chicken pox.
No, that's possible.
How?
Because as people get older, their immune systems weaken.
So
older people are susceptible to shingles. That is very common.
I know that, but I thought that if it's very susceptible if they didn't have chicken pox as a child, but even if they do, they'll still get it. You know what? Here's the reality of viruses. Viruses don't go away. Like, they're not living, right? You don't kill them. So what happens in many viruses, remember I talked to you about the DNA, RNA, protein, the message that the blueprint, sometimes they incorporate the blueprint into your blueprint.
They hide out in the lymph nodes.
Not only do they hide it in your lymph nodes, they literally take the DNA and they incorporate it into your chromosomes. So now your DNA has their DNA. This happens in herpes, right? So you don't get cured of herpes. Once you get it, there's no cure for it, right? So literally, the DNA from the virus has incorporated itself into your personal DNA. So when stress comes, a lot of times you see people that get stressed, then you see a little cold sore on their mouth because their cells had the DNA from the past herpes still in it, and it created the reaction to the virus. So shingles may be that it's the same chickenpox virus that you had, Sister Taylor, back when you were a kid. And when you got older, since your immune system started to slow down, or if you got sick and your immune system started to slow down, it couldn't hold it in check.
Right.
Viruses don't get killed, especially if they leave their message inside of you. If they leave their message inside of you, they can reproduce themselves. They can hijack your system and reproduce themselves inside of you. All right. Ebony says the virus is exposing the danger that is running such a lean system in America. We are running off of supply chain standards based on a small nation, Japan. mercy. It has exposed us. That's what Ebony says. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. It has exposed us. We don't have the inventory to run our healthcare organizations right now. All right, Ebony wants to do a supply chain talk with me. I'm down for that. I'll let you know. I'll let you know the next time. That could be a phenomenal financial freedom conversation. We're gonna do that for sure. Use German tonic and wipes instead of toilet paper. Okay. These Jamaicans. All right, so make sure you wash your fruits and vegetables. That's right. Wash everything. My mom says, remember, you have a senior citizen mother. Shout out to Floridians. It is very important that we take really strong precautions here in Florida because we have a high level of aging population. So yes, it's very important. So mommy, every time I'm around you, I'm gonna make sure I wash my hands all the time. Okay, there you go. Sister Taylor asked if flu shots are good. I don't like flu shots. That's just me. I'm not a fan of a lot of vaccination. Because I feel like we have a good immune system already, and a lot of the times we start to make our immune system hyper vigilant. Hold on. I can't hear you, Rochelle. Say it again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, wait, hold on. I can't hear you. Something happened. Go back. What were you doing just now? Go ahead.
Nothing.
All right. You sound good now.
Okay. Is she referring to the flu vaccine for COVID or flu vaccine for the flu?
The flu shot. Flu shot. I'm assuming flu shot. Just normal flu shot.
So I work in a hospital and I don't take the flu shot. Reason being, every year the efficacy is 35 to 45%, which is garbage to me, number one. And number two, they have 50 strains in that flu vaccine. What if you get the strain 51? You're going to get sick. So I don't take the flu shot.
She doesn't work with patients either anymore, so she doesn't have access to vulnerable populations. I think people who work in the hospital, they have to get the flu shot or they have to wear masks. That's not true? Okay.
Right. So if you don't get the flu shot, you have to wear a mask for the entire flu season, which I had to do when I was on the floor.
Right.
So all the way from November to March, I had to wear a mask because I refused the flu shot.
Yeah.
So also, it is not, if she's talking about for COVID-19, it's not effective for COVID-19.
We don't understand COVID-19 yet.
Right. It's not for COVID-19.
Yeah, that's why they're just taking high level precaution. I'm telling you, they learned a lot of stuff from 2009, and they made all these recommendations in 2012 and 2013, and now everybody's following those recommendations. So when you see people shutting down schools and doing all that stuff, it's not necessarily because this thing is so crazy. It's that they're following recommendations to really halt the pandemic spread. That's it. Why do many kids get the flu at school? Because kids are incubators of everything. They're just dirty.
Enclosed area, they don't wash their hands, you name it. They got it.
Kids are the worst. They don't wash their hands. They sneezing all over the place. Yes. They picking their boogers. They picking their boogers and eating them.
They touching everybody with their hands.
They're just nasty, and they're all together all the time. Right. So that's what happens.
It's an enclosed space. Yeah, a lot of teachers of elementary schools, they get sick in the beginning, and then once they become immune to all the kids' different strains, then they're fine. But yeah, it's the enclosed area.
Yeah, get immune. That's what I'm talking about. Just get immune. You know what I'm saying? Take your vitamins, eat properly, sleep, drink good water, and get all dirty. Get dirty. And get immune. All right, guys. Rochelle, it was so fun talking to you. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope we really explained the process of a virus and what that really means. Ultimately, I really don't think you should be afraid. That's it. Don't be afraid. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Huh?
Stay healthy and wash your hands.
Stay healthy and wash your hands. Bye, guys. I'm the phenomenal STEMist. So is she. Good night.
Good night.
Hold on. It's taking forever to close this thing.